I didn't think much of it the first time I saw the notification. It was a Thursday evening, and I was sprawled on my couch in my Capitol Hill apartment, halfway through a bowl of reheated pad thai and scrolling mindlessly through my phone. The banner appeared at the top of my screen, a pale blue rectangle with a cheerful chime I didn't recognize. Your search. Best bakeries in Seattle open Saturday at 9 a.m. I blinked at it. I had searched for bakeries earlier that week, sure, but I hadn't set any kind of reminder. I swiped the notification away and went back to watching cooking videos I'd never attempt to replicate. My phone had been acting weird lately anyway. Apps opening on their own, the battery draining faster than usual, autocorrect suggesting words I'd never typed. I'd been meaning to schedule an appointment at the Genius Bar, but between my job as a junior copywriter at a marketing firm downtown and trying to maintain some semblance of a social life, I kept putting it off. The bakery notification turned out to be oddly prescient. That Saturday, my friend Maya dragged me out for brunch, and we ended up at that exact bakery, Flour and Tide, right as it opened at 9. The almond croissants were incredible. I posted a photo to my Instagram stories and forgot about the whole thing. The second notification came the following Tuesday. I was at my desk, staring at a brief for a local coffee roaster, when my phone buzzed. Same pale blue banner, same unfamiliar chime. Your search. How to fix relationships with difficult coworkers resolves tomorrow, 2 p.m., Conference Room B. My stomach did a small flip. I had Googled that exact phrase 3 days ago, after a particularly tense exchange with Derek, our senior art director, who had a habit of dismissing my ideas in meetings with a condescending smile. But the phrasing of this notification was wrong. Searches didn't resolve. They returned results. They didn't schedule themselves. I tapped the notification, expecting it to open a browser or lead to some app I'd accidentally installed, but it simply vanished. When I pulled down my notification shade, there was no record of it. I checked my calendar. Nothing scheduled for tomorrow at 2 in Conference Room B. The next day, I was pulling together assets for a pitch when my boss, Stacy, stopped by my desk. She was holding her laptop, her expression neutral in that way that usually meant bad news. "Can you come to Conference Room B at 2?" she asked. "Derek wants to talk through the Cascade campaign. He has some concerns about the team dynamic." My heart rate picked up. Sure, of course. The meeting was awkward but productive. Derek, to my surprise, actually apologized for being dismissive. Stacy had apparently had a conversation with him about collaboration and making junior team members feel heard. By the time we wrapped up at 2:45, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. The tension I'd been carrying in my shoulders had loosened. Walking back to my desk, I couldn't shake the memory of that notification. The timing was too specific, too accurate. I sat down and opened my browser history. Scrolling back through the past week, there were the usual suspects: work, related searches, apartment listings I'd never be able to afford, true crime podcasts, late-night Wikipedia spirals about obscure historical events. Nothing I didn't remember searching myself. That evening, I met my friend Colin for drinks at a bar in Fremont. Colin and I had gone to the University of Washington together, both of us scraping through our 20s in Seattle with varying degrees of success. He worked in IT for a hospital network and had the kind of patient, methodical mind that made him good at debugging both code and life problems. I told him about the notifications over my second old-fashioned. He frowned, swirling his beer. "You're sure you didn't set calendar events and forget?" "I'm disorganized, but I'm not that disorganized," I said. And the wording was strange. It said my search would resolve. "Who talks like that?" "Could be some predictive AI thing," Colin suggested. "Google's always trying to anticipate what you need before you need it. Maybe it's a new feature that got pushed to your phone." "Without me opting in?" He shrugged. "Happens all the time. Terms of service updates nobody reads. You should check your app permissions. See if anything looks off. And maybe run a malware scan." I promised I would, but when I got home that night, I fell into my usual routine. Shower, skincare, Half an hour of scrolling through TikTok until my eyes burned, then sleep. The malware scan could wait. The third notification arrived on Friday morning while I was waiting for my rideshare to work. Your search. Are there cameras in my apartment will be answered tonight, 11:23 p.m. Check behind the smoke detector. The phone nearly slipped from my hands. I stood on the sidewalk outside my building, my breath visible in the October chill, reading and rereading the words. I had searched that. 2 nights ago, lying in bed, unable to sleep, I'd been seized by a sudden paranoia that my landlord might have installed hidden cameras. It was an irrational fear, born from too many true crime documentaries and the vague unease that came with renting a place I could barely afford from a management company I'd never met in person. I'd typed the question into Google at 1:30 in the morning, read a few Reddit threads that did nothing to calm my nerves, then forced myself to put the phone down and try to sleep. But I had never found an answer. And I certainly hadn't checked behind the smoke detector. My Lyft pulled up, a silver Prius with a driver who didn't want to chat, which suited me fine. I spent the entire ride staring at my phone, trying to make the notification reappear, but it was gone. I checked my search history again, my email, my app activity logs. Nothing explained it. Work was a blur. I couldn't focus. I kept thinking about the smoke detector in my bedroom, the small white disc mounted on the ceiling near the door. I'd never paid it much attention. It was just part of the apartment's fixtures, something I'd tested once when I moved in to make sure the battery worked. By the time I got home that evening, my nerves were shot. I made myself dinner pasta with jarred marinara, barely tasted, and tried to watch a movie. My eyes kept drifting to the clock. 9:15, 10:30, 11:10. At 11:20, I gave in. I dragged a chair from my kitchen into the bedroom and climbed up to examine the smoke detector. My hands were shaking as I twisted the plastic cover. It came off easily, and I peered inside, expecting to see just the standard components. Battery, sensor, maybe some dust. There was a small black device tucked next to the battery. A camera, tiny, no bigger than a USB drive, with a lens like a pinprick. I stumbled off the chair, my heart hammering so hard I thought I might pass out. Someone had put a camera in my apartment. Someone had been watching me, sleeping, changing, existing in the space I'd thought was private and safe. My first instinct was to call the police, but my hands were shaking too badly to unlock my phone. And then a worse thought crept in. How had the notification known? How had my phone told me exactly when and where to look? I forced myself to breathe slowly, in through my nose, out through my mouth, the way my therapist had taught me during my anxious sophomore year of college. Think. I needed to think. The notification had said my search would be answered, as if something or someone was responding to my questions, not predicting the future, but creating it, arranging it. I grabbed my laptop and started searching for information about the camera. It took me 20 minutes to find a match, a model sold online for home security, but also popular in forums I wished I'd never discovered, places where people discuss surveillance and control with a casual detachment that made my skin crawl. Then I checked my rideshare app, my food delivery history, my credit card statements. I was looking for anomalies, anything that suggested my life had been tampered with. But everything looked normal, charges I recognized, trips I remembered taking. Except, 3 weeks ago, I'd ordered Indian food from a restaurant I'd never tried before. The order had been wrong. They'd sent chicken korma instead of the vegetable biryani I'd requested, but I'd been too tired to complain, so I'd just eaten it. I pulled up the order confirmation email. I had ordered vegetable biryani. I was sure of it, but the email showed chicken korma. Had I misremembered, or had someone changed it? I opened my search history and started scrolling, really looking this time. Most of it was mundane, but scattered throughout were searches I didn't quite remember making. Small things. Fastest route to Fremont on Thursday night. Is 2 old fashions too much on a work night? Do coworkers notice when you wear the same outfit twice in 1 week? They sounded like me. They were things I might search. but I couldn't place the exact moments I'd typed them. My phone buzzed. Another notification. Your search. Who is doing this to me will be answered now. Check your email. My breath caught. I hadn't searched that. I'd thought it, sitting here at my laptop, but I hadn't typed it anywhere. With numb fingers, I opened my email. There was a new message, sent from my own address. The subject line read, "You've been looking for answers." The body of the email contained a single link. Every instinct screamed at me not to click it, but I was beyond caution now. I needed to know. The link opened a web page, bare-bones HTML, with white text on a black background. "Hello, Emma. You're right to be scared, but you're asking the wrong questions. You want to know who is doing this. The answer is, you are." I stared at the screen until the words blurred. 6 months ago, you signed up for a service called LifeSync. You don't remember because the onboarding process included a mild sedative in your welcome package, those gummy vitamins you took and forgot about. LifeSync is a predictive optimization service. You gave us access to your search history, your location data, your purchasing patterns, your communications. We use that data to improve your life, to resolve your problems before they overwhelm you, to guide you toward better outcomes. You consented to all of this. I didn't remember any service called LifeSync. I didn't remember signing up for anything 6 months ago, except for a grocery delivery trial that I'd canceled after one use. And wait, 6 months ago, I'd signed up for something else. A productivity app. One of those AI-driven tools that promise to streamline your life, manage your tasks, optimize your routine. I'd seen an ad on Instagram, and in a moment of aspirational delusion, I'd signed up. They'd sent a welcome package with vitamins, a notebook, some branded stickers. I'd taken the vitamins for a few days, then forgotten about the whole thing when I got busy with a big campaign at work. The webpage continued. The camera in your apartment was installed by a technician during a routine maintenance visit 4 months ago. You let him in. You signed the work order. You remember none of this because LifeSync managed that memory for you. It would have caused unnecessary distress. But now you've begun to question the service, which means it's time for full disclosure. Everything we've done has been to help you. The bakery recommendation led to a pleasant morning with a friend. The workplace conflict was resolved. The camera was installed to monitor your sleep patterns and adjust your environment for optimal rest. You've been sleeping better, haven't you? I had been sleeping better. For the past few months, I'd been falling asleep faster, waking up more refreshed. I'd attributed it to finally getting my work-life balance under control. But now, you can opt out at any time. Simply reply to this email with the word "stop," and all LifeSync services will cease immediately. Your data will be deleted. The interventions will end. Of course, your life will return to the way it was before. Directionless, anxious, filled with small miseries you lack the willpower to fix on your own. The choice is yours. I sat frozen, my cursor hovering over the reply button. Part of me wanted to type "stop" immediately, to purge whatever this thing was from my life. But another part, a part I was ashamed to acknowledge, hesitated. My life had gotten better in the past few months. I was happier at work. My friendships felt more solid. I'd been taking better care of myself, making better choices. If this LifeSync thing was responsible for that, no, that was insane. They drugged me. They'd put a camera in my bedroom. They were manipulating my life without my conscious knowledge. I started typing a reply. "Stop. Delete everything. This is..." Another notification appeared, interrupting me. "Your search. What happens if I say no will be answered in 5 seconds. I hadn't searched that either, but I'd thought it. My screen went black. Then, one by one, windows began opening on my laptop. Photos of me, hundreds of them, taken in my apartment, on the street, at work, at bars and restaurants, time-stamped, geotagged, annotated with notes about my emotional state, my associations, my routines. There were recordings too, audio files of conversations I'd had with friends, with coworkers, with my mother during our weekly phone calls. A chat window appeared over the cascade of invasions. We know everything about you, Emma. Where you go, who you see, what you fear, what you want. This isn't a threat. It's a reminder of the value exchange you agreed to. We improve your life. You provide data. If you opt out, the improvements stop, but the data remains. We are not legally required to delete it. We are only required to stop active interventions. My hands were shaking again, but this time with rage instead of fear. You can't do this, I typed back. This is illegal. You consented. The terms of service were clear. You didn't read them, but that doesn't negate your agreement. We've broken no laws. Our attorneys are very thorough. I thought about calling Colin, calling the police, calling anyone. But what would I tell them? I'd signed up for something. I'd agreed to terms I hadn't read. And somehow, through a mechanism I didn't understand, I'd allowed this company to infiltrate every corner of my existence. The chat window blinked. You're upset. That's natural. But consider, your life is better now. Measurably, objectively better. Your cortisol levels are down. Your productivity is up. Your social connections have strengthened. We've helped you become a more optimized version of yourself. Isn't that what you wanted when you searched for self-improvement strategies at 2 in the morning? When you looked up how to be happier, how to be better, how to finally get your life together? It was true. I had searched those things dozens of times, in moments of quiet desperation, when I felt like I was failing at being a functional adult. Let us continue to help you, the message continued. Or don't. But know that the alternative is regression. You, alone, with your anxiety and your poor decisions and your unfulfilled potential, we can guide you toward the life you've always wanted. All you have to do is let us. I closed my laptop. I sat in the silence of my apartment, feeling the weight of invisible eyes, the camera in the smoke detector, probably others I hadn't found yet, my phone on the coffee table, a portal through which my entire life had been cataloged and manipulated. I thought about smashing it, throwing it against the wall, watching the screen spiderweb and go dark. But what would that accomplish? They already had everything, every search, every photo, every idle wondering that had crossed my mind. And the truly terrifying thing was that I couldn't even pinpoint where I ended and their interventions began. Had I wanted to meet Maya for brunch, or had they nudged me toward it? Had Derek's apology been genuine, or had they orchestrated that too? How many of my choices in the past 6 months had actually been mine? I opened my laptop again. The chat window was still there, waiting. I need time to think, I typed. Of course. Take all the time you need. We'll be here. We're always here. I spent the weekend researching. LifeSync was real, though not well known. A boutique service for people who wanted life optimization through predictive AI and personalized interventions. Their website was sleek, filled with testimonials from users who gushed about their improved relationships, career success, better health. There was a wait list thousands of people long. I found forum posts from people who'd opted out. Most said their lives had fallen apart afterward, not because of any retaliation from the company, but because they'd become dependent on the guidance. They didn't trust their own judgment anymore. They missed the notifications, the gentle pushes toward better choices. A few people claimed LifeSync had ruined them, that the company had retained their data and used it in ways they couldn't prove but suspected. Job applications mysteriously rejected, relationships that soured for no clear reason. Coincidences, too, pointed to be random. But these posts were always downvoted, dismissed as paranoia or buyer's remorse. By Monday morning, I still hadn't decided what to do. I went to work. I smiled at Derek when he